All right, there it is, live from my house. Ooh, it's Monday night. Hmm. So, is there one body that's going to join me? Am I my only body? Ooh, I love my only body. I love my only body. Let's see if we're actually, it says we're live over on YouTuber. YouTuber says we're live. I'm going to mute that. There we go. And it is. Okay. So YouTube shows me live. I showed me live. Everything's going towards live. So if you're watching this after it's pre-recorded, I'm live streaming it now and you're watching it whenever it might be on. Please like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. Tell me if you liked it, you hated it, what I could do to improve it. Of course, I can't do anything because it's already perfect, but you can tell me something. And just watch it. YouTube likes it when people watch YouTube. So get on there, watch it. And if you're watching it and you like it, then try to tune in on the live channel Mondays and Thursdays, usually at 9. And I'd like for somebody to call in and chit chat, or even better yet, go live on video. I can do that. But I have to send you an email and a link. It's a little more complicated. But the telephone, you just pick up your phone, dial it, and we chit chat, talk. So tonight's show is going to be kind of the follow up to a show I had a couple of nights ago about time travel. And the premise of the show before was, if you missed it, I can tell you, or we could just wait and you could watch it and then come back. I'll be here for you. Just go ahead and do that. Don't do that, because I won't be here for you. But the last show was, if you had three opportunities only, where would you go and why? I mean, would you go back in time, meet your great great grandfather, say hi? You know, why would you do that? You know, that kind of stuff. So, what I tried to avoid in the first show of that was some of the problems I see that, you know, even doing time travel might impose. So, I've watched Back to the Future, so I am currently an expert. I hold a degree in Back to the Future time travel, and we'll talk about that. And so, I guess on the previous show, talked about where would you go and why would you go. That's just kind of open ended. Let's, throw everything else out the window. You have the ability to time travel, however it might be. So you can do it, just flat out, no questions asked. Where would you go? What would you do? All right. So now, someone like me comes along and goes, "Oh, wait a minute." So you say you would go back and visit the dinosaurs, and I know there's been tons, thousands of movies probably on time travel, because it's always been one of these things. Man, if I could go back in time, I'd do this, I'd do that, I'd do all this other stuff. So there's lots of different ways people, make up the fact that you can time travel. How would you do it? Okay. So one of my thoughts on that first show was, you got to have a device. Let's just say that it was a DeLorean and you were going back in time. And anybody that saw the Back to the Future movies know that, he gets back to the 50s, right? And he doesn't have gas for the DeLorean. He can't get it started. It's mechanically a problem. So there you go. that's one of the big hurdles. My thought would be I wanted to go back and meet Jesus. Well, way back, not way, way back. Go back and meet Jesus. Just look him in the eye and have him say, I know you. I know who you are. I know you're here. You shouldn't be here. You should go back. But, okay, so I've got a DeLorean, and I'm going to go back and meet Jesus. All right? Here's the thing, one of the many things about time travel. You wrap your mind around this. I don't live anywhere near where Jesus was. Nowhere near it. Okay? So, if I time travel, there's a couple of elements, I think. Being able to go back in time, that's just linear to me. That linear, maybe I'm using that terminology wrong. You'll let me know, I hope, in a comment. You go back, and I'm sitting in my bonus room. If I were to go back to me, if I would go back in time linearly, straight line, and I can do it from sitting in my chair, not the fact I have to be in a DeLorean, okay, moving, get up to 88 miles an hour. Okay, let's just say I have my chair, my device that allows me to go back strictly in time. Strictly in time. I could put back, if I went back 20 years, I'm sitting about 25 feet above ground level. Maybe even more before we had the house built. If I went back in time right now, 20 years, I may materialize with the tree in my head. How does that work? Right? If I'm phasing through this time, like, man, I grew up watching the original TV series of Star Trek, okay? Time travel were like the transporter, and I plugged in my time in my device, and it went zzz, took my molecular structure and just broke it apart, shoved it down the daggone time tube, and stopped me 20 years from now and materialized me again in that time. What would I be with? Now, this comes along, if you've seen it, I got an itchy eyeball. Imagine that. I'm part of a tree now. It kills me. You see what I'm saying? You materialize. And that's just, like I said, just one way. Time travel. But this takes me back to the movie The Fly. If you've ever seen The Fly, the original or the other one that Jeff Goldblum was in, I'm going to spoil it for you. Okay? If you haven't seen The Fly and you're thinking maybe you want to see it, it's not really about time travel. It's about teleportation, which I'm alluding to in this Star Trek reference. Is somehow, I have to be transported in and out, up and down this time tunnel. I'm thinking tunnel because it's a linear thing like a garden hose, whatever. So I have to be broken down in some way, transformed to go back and forth in this. Okay? So that's like the transporter in Star Trek. It's like this transporter thing in The Fly. But the one time he gets into this device, happens to be a little housefly that got in there with him. He doesn't know what's in there, but everything in this capsule, this device that he has, he's inside, everything in there gets shaken up and then spit out. In this case, he's teleporting into the other time capsule, or not time capsule, but the other place. Right? Okay, so he gets mixed up with this fly. Hey, Cleo. Dude's like sugar in The Fly. Is he like sugar or he likes sugar? I don't know. Dude likes sugar in The Fly. Yeah, he starts growing these hairs and stuff, which is kind of a little different if you watch the modern the more modern version of the fly, as opposed to the one in the 50s. But it gets mixed up with this fly, right? So that's what I'm wondering about time travel. If I went back strictly from where I'm sitting, and this is just time travel, nothing else involved. If I sit in this time right here and I travel back 20 years, I might materialize inside of a tree. It kill me. I might materialize on the tree. Maybe I'm lucky and I'm sitting on a limb, but I'm still 25 feet in the air. That's one of the things I think about time travel. And Marty McFly, he was in a car, remember? And when he materialized before his subdivision was built in one of those. I can't remember if that was the first one. Anyway. And so he's in the cornfield, which he was lucky. All right. So he went back in time, and let's say it was 8 p.m. at night and it was dark. He went back in time however many years, and it was still 8 p.m. and it was dark. So when he hit and he went through the cornfield, it was still dark. So that's when he ended up in the barn. Yeah, it was the first one. And his hood flipped down because he had on the radioactive suit. And he got out, and the dude, farmer, was trying to shoot him with the shotgun. So anyway, to me, that's time travel. I'm not moving in space. I still occupy the same position in the same country, in the same city, in the same county, in the same spot of land. I just travel through the time of that little square. So I'm sitting in my house 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. If I went back, say I went back 100 years, who knows what was in this spot in 100 years? And I think, oh, I'd like to see what's in my, what this place looked like 100 years ago. Okay? So I put my little device and I send myself back 100 years. Who knows what I would be getting into, right? You might be better off sending a chimpanzee and then see if you can bring it back and make sure it's it's not got arrows in it where maybe some Native Americans shot it up or maybe some hillbilly shot it up. I don't know. That's a problem. And this is what I talk about, the nuts and bolts of time travel. It ain't just, it's all nice and lovey-dovey in theory. But time travel, like I said, that's just one thing. And now, if you can travel in space and time, that's how I think I could go back and see Jesus. Because not only could I go back in time, I could go back in space, meaning I could change my position. That's what it means to me. I could change my position, and I could go back to Bethlehem, or I could go back to wherever he might be, in any given point in time. Maybe I want to go back and see his birth. Okay? And I'm hoping I could calculate the time and the place. You know what I mean? And get within a few miles, because see, I'm going back. And I'm just going on the premise I could do it with this phone or a device, not something I have to travel in like a car. If I could do it with that kind of device, sitting in this chair, I could go time and space and end up somewhere close to Bethlehem at the time. Then I could walk there. And I'd have to be dressed correctly, because I couldn't go in my hoodie and my jeans. I probably, would get killed. So I'd have to have clothing that would fit the time, right? And here again, if I go back, I don't know where I'm going to land. Hopefully, I'll land in a desert. It's just in my mind, it's starting to get way too complicated to say. I have to look it up on a map, a topographical map, because I don't want to materialize, and I'm still going on this theory that maybe I can, teleport in a way, break down my molecular structure, jump in, send myself in this stream of time, back through time, right? And then put myself back together at a certain time in a certain place. So I'm not only going back down the time tunnel, I'm going woo all across space. Right? I have to look it up on a topographical map to make sure I'm not going to put myself inside a mountain or a molehill, something crazy like that. I still could end up in somebody's house, barn. I could, end up in a lake. Man, I'm going back in time. You never know. You go back too far. Oh, we'll see the dinosaurs. All right. You could go back and you could freaking end up in a lava flow, or something. It's just crazy. Choose a body of water next to shore. Yeah, but if you're going back far enough, who knows how big the body of water would be? You go back now's a desert, and it might be a stupid ocean back then. Time travel's complicated. I don't think that just goes beyond just how would you do it. The power, breaking down molecules. How much energy does that take? Can you do that? And I know this is a totally different subject, maybe, potentially. But who wants to be the dude that says, I invented or know or can control or I'm going to turn on antimatter? Antimatter. It don't matter, right? It's the opposite of matter. So what's it going to try to do? It's going to try to destroy matter. Matter that everything's made up of. Yeah. So antimatter. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to be intelligent. And that's why it makes this show interesting, because I'm not intelligent. I ask stupid questions, come up with stupid answers. But back to time travel. The nuts and bolts of it. I don't know. You see lots of movies about time travel. And a lot of them are all about the lights and the tunnels and the swoops and the turns and the ups and the downs and there you are, your time travel. Saw that one, and I don't remember which one it was. He sat down, what looked in like a sled, and had this big thing that whirled around behind him. He said it, and that thing spun, right? It spun, and it created this field. Boom, there he was. I could go for all that. I mean, it's the same kind of thing with the DeLorean. All the gigawatts, the flux capacitor, 88 miles an hour thing, speed, and it just, and there you go. But the nuts and bolts, how would it actually work? And here's a question that I've wondered about. Here I am, got my thing, and I'm just making this simple. I'm thinking this, somebody develops or some way I can just take this, and because I'm holding it, let's just say I physically have to be holding it, punch it in the little app, my time travel app, and because I'm holding it, zoop. If I'm holding my cup, zoop, it goes with me. Maybe if I'm sitting in this chair, zoop, it goes with me, because we're physically touching. And it sucks everything that we're in. If I create a line of 100 people, boop, we all go travel. So, let's say I want to go back in time. I want to become a millionaire. How would you do it? Okay. Well, I'd go back and buy the winning lottery ticket numbers. Okay, we've got to research that. Okay. And here's just the flaw with that. Bear with me. I go back. Let's just say I go back, what was it, a month, 2 weeks ago when that $1 billion lotto was up? I know what the winning numbers are now. Write them down. I go back. Okay. And I buy a ticket to go naked. Yeah, well, that's because everybody wanted to see Arnold's butt. Nothing non-living will go through. Yeah, I remember that. So, You go back in to see Jesus, you'd end up there naked if you timed it wrong. It'd be really embarrassing. You know. Then what would you do? I mean, you're not the Terminator. You have a conscience. You wouldn't just go around and kill some poor shepherd for his clothes, right? So, yeah, it'd be terrible. But in my world, well, I can take whatever in the daggone well I want to take because I'm going to put my app to work. Where was I going? Had 100 people. Well, daggone it. Yeah, well, guess what? Mary hasn't. Joseph hasn't. You know, the three wise men, they hadn't seen me naked. So, you know, let's think about the big picture here, man. Thinking about the big picture. And then, you know, sandals. I didn't have any sandals either, so I'd be walking through the thorns and thickets and the sands and the brambles with bare feet, and my feet are soft, dude. I've been wearing shoes for years. They are soft. So where was I going, man? I had to time travel. We could go back. I was going to get rich. I was going to do the $1 billion lottery. Okay. So now I go back to however many weeks, and I got the numbers, and I play the numbers. Now, think about this. There's two of me now in that time. Okay. So, depending on the theory you go with, if I'm just traveling in time, I could go back. I could stand out next to the store. Okay. I could stand out next to the store. The Monday night me punches it in there. I go back 2 weeks. I take my $8, $9. I run in. I buy the ticket, and I come back to here. Now, here's a question. There's so many tag-on questions. I pop out of here at, what time is it? I pop out of here at 9:23. Okay? I go in, I buy my ticket. Now, I can't come back to 9:23. Could I? Could I come back that technically I could. I could come back that very same minute, and I'd be standing outside the store. And in my world, I could bring the ticket back with me because, you know, this ain't the Terminator. Non-living stuff goes through on my app. I've got the high dollar app that I paid for, not the free version. So non-living stuff can go through with me. I've got my ticket. I have to come back. So I would be me again. If I came back 2 minutes later than I left, for 2 minutes, you know, if I come back at 9:25, for 2 minutes, there'll be no me in the world. But back when I went to buy the ticket, there's two of me. There's one at the store and then one wherever I was at that time, probably at home. There's two of me. So the one that's buying the ticket, me, has to go back to the future and beyond, or exactly the same time that I went in. Right? So now I've got the winning ticket. So I could do it that way. And then I could present the ticket. As long as I haven't waited too long. And I guess they would show two winners instead of the one dude that won it out of California. There'd be two, I guess. I mean, all that would transpire in the time that I jumped between then and now. So that would work. I could buy a ticket, go back, and do that. What happens if I went back and I bought stock in Apple? So I'd have to go back as me. I would have to have an account. I guess you could you couldn't set all that up because then you wouldn't have an account back in whenever Apple, you could buy Apple cheap in the 70s or whatever. You just have to think it through because the 70s me, back in those days, you couldn't just open a Robinhood account, man, you had to have money, and you had to go into a broker's office or somebody that had the authority and the ability to trade or knew somebody on the stock exchange. So that crap would be hard. All right. I guess in my world, I could go back and I could bet $100 on any sporting event or greyhound race or horse race or something like that, win money, and then in my briefcase till I come back and I would have cash money in hand. So now I've got it. I say I won $10,000. I'm going to have to keep it in cash, or I'm going to have to deposit it in the bank in small amounts so the IRS doesn't catch on. Right? So you have to work that kind of stuff out. But I think the big thing is the nuts and bolts of it is all depends, a lot of it depends on how time travel would happen. If it was something small like this, you'd be okay. If it was something like a big to-do, a big gadget, a big tub, I don't know what, you'd probably be a little bit in trouble because you've got to, and then do you have time to go back? I mean, you just travel in time, or can you travel in space and you go to a different area? I think first, like that, anything, you got to walk, right? So anybody that comes across this, that figures it out, maybe they're just going to be able to do time. Buy bonds, mature in your name for the future. What I'm waiting on now, I know that time travel, he has already set that up. Yeah, so you could do that. But I know it wouldn't. You could do it then. You'd come in, and they would mature tomorrow, and you would have them. I mean, you could probably do that. But that's, you'd want to do, I want to be a millionaire, you know? So I don't know how, I'm sure you could probably do it in bonds and all that kind of stuff, but you'd have to go back in money, and you would still have to, you know, let's say you had to go to a place and you had to present an ID to open this, you know, account, a checking account, or you have to provide proof of who you are to the dude that's, you know, you're buying these bonds with. I can't take my license back in time that shows that, you know, expires in, you know, 2025 or whatever, and say, you know, this is me, you know, forget about the fact that it's not paper anymore and that it's, you know, it's got that it expires and this and it's got a barcode thing on the back. Forget about all that, you know, forget about that. How could he, you know, if I showed it to him, even if I had something that says, you were born in such and such time, you look like you're 67 years old, but, you know, you should be only 20 right now. How do you, you're 20 years old and you look like you're 67. What happened to you? So some of that, you know, like I said, the nuts and bolts of it, it'd be almost like trying to pull off the perfect heist. I mean, you'd have to think about all these little things. And probably the best way would be cash transactions. Like I said, if you went to a horse track race and you bet $100, you know, on Prancer to win by a nose, and he paid 100 to 1, you would do that several times, like the dude in Back to the Future. You know, when he had that Sports Illustrated book that showed who would win all the future games. So, you know, cash. I think cash is going to be your best bet. You know, you could go and you could bet on boxing matches. Someplace where you just walked up to the cashier, you laid your $100 down, you got your voucher ticket, and when Muhammad Ali whipped the guy's butt, you went back, you laid it back down, and he gives you 1,000 back, or 10,000, or whatever it might be. I wouldn't go to Vegas, because those guys get really suspicious quick. And you couldn't win big money. I guess, you know, you could make it a one-time deal and, you know, tote it back, because in my world, everything comes back with me. So, I mean, you could do something like that. But this thing about, I'm going to go back in time as I currently am. This is another question of the nuts and bolts of it. If I go back in time, I assume that I stay the way I am, right? That I don't change. If I go back, 30 years, I'm still the same old me. Or would it take those 30 years off my life and then I would be, maybe a younger me? And, so I'm thinking in my teleport theory, I break down the molecules, I send them back, and they get put back together like they were taken apart. Not younger, not older, not smarter, not even better looking, because it's impossible. But they were put together exactly like they came apart. So old me goes back in time and still is old me. Why? I don't understand the big deal. Maybe I've missed it. Why can't I go up to young me? Because we're two separate people, right? We're two separate people. In that time, we're two separate people, even though we are the same person. And then this has been in a movie I watched where these hitmen would go back in time and kill people, or up in time and kill people. But then their last contract was to go back and kill themselves. I can't remember. Man, I wish I could remember the name of that movie. It was kind of twisted. But anyway. Why couldn't I? Why can't you see yourself, your young self? I don't see how that could ever mess up the space-time continuum, as they put it. I just don't see how that even happens. So, old me goes back and sees young me. You might want to, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't want to scare yourself. Could you write a note to yourself and say, hey, dummy, you need to invest in Apple and we'll both be rich. You invest in Apple. Could you imagine that, though? So let's say old me goes back, gives young me a note. Bet all your money, and I know right now, at this age, you have, $752.95 in the bank. Pull all that money out. Go to Kentucky. Bet it on the Preakness Stakes, whatever they've got, the Kentucky Derby. Bet it on the no-name horse. Trust me, you'll win. We'll be, rich. And then take that money, and when you can, open an account and buy Apple stock. Put it all in Apple stock, and don't do anything else with it. So, would you come back to now time and like Marty McFly when he went and he came back and his parents, they lived in this really nice house and his parents were successful and he didn't know what the devil was going on, because you could go and you could do that not knowing what would happen technically. Maybe you would. That's another question. I got so many damn questions. But you could go back and then you're like, well, okay, I'm going to go back to my house. Well, you go back and you try to get in the door, or if you're wherever, going back in time, space travel. I would just maybe, let's say I went outside and I traveled back in time and I couldn't change places, so I'd have to go to where young me was, write the note, come back to where I live. Maybe the house wouldn't be here because young me actually did the note. Young me got filthy rich. Young me moved to Bermuda. Old me doesn't know that. I go back and I can't space travel. So I come back to where I took off from in my house now. It may not be here, or some mean dude with a shotgun might be living here. Old me has no idea until I come back and remember, oh my gosh, when I was 22, I invested in all this Apple stock. I'm supposed to be in Bermuda. How did I get here? My gosh, I did time travel. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Some people would say they'd go the dark side. And let's swap gears real quick. 35 minutes, and we'll get off here. Me and Clell, we're braving the internet waves together. Some people would do the dark side and say, I'm going to go back, and I'm just going to use this as an example because I know everybody, pretty much everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'm going to go back in time. I'm not even going to space travel. Dallas, Texas. I'm going to be there on the grassy knoll, and I'm going to stop. Or I'm going to go to a book repository, and I'm going to stop the assassination of JFK. Why can't I do that? Could you? Or could you end up being the one that they see and capture, and there you would be back in time, and you get caught and charged with conspiracy, along with, whatever shoot, I can't remember his name now. Wouldn't that blow their mind? And then you could say you'd be just like on Terminator. No, man, I came back in time to save him, not to kill him. I didn't do it. It was the other guy, the other 2 guys. It was the other 6 guys. It wasn't me. I'm from the future. Oh, no. That'd be a mess. But let's say you were successful. Okay? You were successful. He didn't get killed then. You punch back in your little phone and you come back, 2022. What ripple effect might that have? And you come back thinking, I did a great thing. And it may have changed the course of America, and you wouldn't even recognize it. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Who knows? That to me would be probably the biggest thing, would be, not me making $1 million. Of course it might. I mean, the young me may have made, millions of dollars and invented the internet. That would change a lot of things. Al Gore would be broke because he didn't invent the internet. I did. So, geez, that would be weird, wouldn't it? You come back, but I think the minute you came back, wouldn't you have those memories? It's like the minute you come back, all those years, all those things that had changed, that you changed back, now would be in your memory, and you'd be like, because see, you're not changing. You'd go back in time with your standard memories. Then when you came back, I think you would have standard memories and the new present memories? Because if I went back and told 22-year-old me how to make millions, and I was a millionaire when I came back, there'd be a totally different set of memories in my brain from 22 until as old as I am now, 45. So there'd be a whole bunch of new memories poof, into my brain. That'd be hard to handle too. Yeah, dudes in the white jackets would be all over me. But if you take your license back and they go through your wallet and they're going, man, this dude's got like, what are these cards? Look at this. This is our credit cards don't look like this. Our driver's license don't look like this. What the hell's Sam's Club? What? Maybe he's not telling a lie. Look at this thing he's got here. What is that? I think you wouldn't spend a lot of time before somebody from the big bad government, alphabet soup places, would come by and pick you up. Say, hey, come on, dude. Well, let's get it on. Show me what you got. But that's why they kind of blow your mind too. But the ripple effects. If you went back and you thought you were doing something good by saving JFK, you never know what would happen. I mean, you might not even come back. All right? Let's say something happens and you go back in time and you save JFK. But there was assassination of plot. And some of the conspirators or co-conspirators seize you. And you're punching in, your code. What happens if they kill you right there on the spot? You may have done that, but it may end up costing you your life. Or something crazy happens like real criminals do, and you drop your wallet, right? In your haste to run because now they're chasing you because you've gotten yourself seen, you run around the corner, you drop your wallet or your business card, or something, or you touch something in your fingerprints and they hold that for the 40, 50, 60, 70 years, however long it is. And then when you come back, they know who you are. And, you come back, you're wanted or you're dead. You don't come back because, they tracked down who you were, and 6 months after you saved his life, they killed young you. And when they killed young you, you're gone. Oh, young you'll be dead. You'll be no more. So, nuts and bolts of time travel. Too many things bounce around in my head. I wish, there were answers. But there's not. There's only more questions. So anyway, Clell, I appreciate you coming by. Do me a favor and get on there when this thing hits YouTube and it's an old video like tomorrow or tomorrow night. Leave me a comment on there. So at least I get some comments other than what's in the chat tonight. Get some comments on YouTube and like the video, and so that way some of that stuff will be happening after it becomes a real video instead of a live stream. So anyway, if you're watching this after it's over, I hope you enjoyed my rants and my raves. Get on here, call in. I'll rant and rave with you or at you or about you. I don't know. So anyway, thanks. Thursday night, I don't know. I've been doing a couple things on Twitch on Thursdays. I'll have to see how this video turns out. But it just seems like, I don't know, I might give Twitch another try, but when I stream it on Twitch, it seems like it hangs up, it freezes. I mean, this is, I don't know, man. I'll have to watch it to see how it does on, it's been doing on YouTube, see if it's locking up. I tried to fix this camera, this phone, where it's trying to autofocus, and you can't turn off the autofocus. So it keeps going in and out and jumping around. It drives me insane. I know it drives you insane. But I can't, I think it's the background and me, we're kind of close together here. If I could get it closer to me, then it might do away with that. But I can't. No, not yet. I'll figure something out. So anyway, appreciate it. And oh, did you notice I swapped the cameras? Now when I raise my right hand, it's over here. When I raise my left hand, it's over here. I don't know if that means anything to you all, but it makes my brain feel better. Because when I tried to do my hair before, like use this as a mirror, I couldn't do it because I don't know. This is the mirror image, right? You put your hand up to a mirror, you touch that same hand. You put this hand up to a mirror and you touch that on the thing. When I was doing it before, it was kind of like this, and I couldn't even mess with my hair because I was doing it kind of this way because everything was backwards, and then my hair ended up like that. So anyway, I don't know if you noticed it or not. But anyway, I changed it. Makes me feel better. All right, toodles. See ya. Bye, everybody. Make them wave. Make them both wave, man.